few weeks ago, Dehancer emailed me and they were asking if I'm interested in doing a product review and giving my honest thoughts about it. And I said yes. So just a little bit of a background about me. My name is David. I'm based from Vancouver, BC. I am not a professional colorist nor a professional videographer or filmmaker. I am just a regular guy who happens to be passionate about creating art, documenting anything about life, my life experiences, my travel experiences, and most of the time, I just love to capture the ordinary or mundane moments that happens on a daily basis around me and try to kind of like convert them into a more cinematic stills or look. So when Dehancer reached out to me, I was ecstatic, I was excited because I've been eyeing Dehancer for quite some time now, and the videos I've seen online from fellow creators who utilizes Dehancer in their color grading workflow were all amazing and stunning, and I always wanted that kind of like look and feel for my videos as well. So let me show you how I do my color grading process with the Dehancer Pro. So for my workflow, I usually start with 6 nodes and I'm editing in a Mac OS, so shortcut key would be Option S. So we'll set up our 6 nodes, 2, 4, 5, 6. And then on our first node, that's gonna be our color space transform. So we're just gonna label it as CST. Then we're gonna head to the Effects tab and then find your color space transform and drag it onto your first node. And then on the color space transform section, you just have to input the necessary information. I film most of my stuff in my Sony Fx30 in S-Log3, so that's the information that we have to input on this section. So for the color space, it's gonna be the Sony S-Gamma3.Cine, and then for the gamma, it's gonna be our S-Log3. And then for the output color space, we're gonna be using Rec 709, and for the gamma, we'll just leave it at Cine on Film Log 3. There we go. And then moving on to the second node, it's gonna be our exposure correction. And I like to adjust my exposure through the offset wheel. But looking through our waveform, it's currently in the middle area. Ideally, you want your waveform to be at the center, but we have room to adjust our exposure. So we're just gonna drag our offset wheel towards the left side to darken it a little bit. I think that should be okay. Then on the third node, it's gonna be our white balance correction. So for the white balance, there's 2 methods that you could use. You could either adjust it through the temperature tab and the tint tab, but I would like to use a more linear way, which is right-clicking on the node and then selecting the gamma and then click linear. Then after that, you can just like correct your white balance through your offset wheel. And I like my footage to be on the warmer side of things, so I'm just gonna drag the offset wheel towards yellow, warmer tones, right about there. And then on our fourth node, we're just gonna use this for our contrast adjustment. And then for contrast, it's either you can do this on the contrast tab, but for me, I like to use the curve tones for this, and I'll just pull the shadow down a little, and then the highlights, nudge it up just a tiny bit. Too much. There, it's looking good already. And then moving to our node 5, this is gonna be our saturation adjustment, and the method that I'd like to use is by turning this node into an HSL node. So just right click, go to color space and then select HSL. Then after that, right click again and go to your channel, and tick off channel 1 and channel 3. I believe this is the luminance and hue channel, so we only want to keep the channel 2 for the saturation, and then we can always adjust it via the offset wheel. But right now I'm liking the colors, but I would prefer a little warmer on the side things. Yeah, I think that's the good spot. And then on our 6th node, our final node, we're gonna use it for the Dehancer plugin. And then click the effects, find your Dehancer plugin on the very bottom, and then just drag it towards the node. And there you go. After that, you just have to correct the input source because it's pre-selected at Rec 709. Remember, on our CST, it is Cineon film log, so we're just gonna match it with the same Cineon film log, and then after that, we're gonna go through the film section wherein we can find all their film stock, and there's a lot to choose from depending on the look or the vibe that you're going after. But my personal favorite is the Kodak Ektar 100 and the Kodak Gold 200. Sometimes I use the Portra 400 and 800, and also another personal favorite of mine is the Konica Impreza 50. But for this video, we're gonna be using the Kodak Ektar 100. And as you can see, the clip is still looking on the colder side, so I wanted it to be on a warmer tone. So we're just gonna pull the film profile towards the right, kind of like strengthen it a little bit, and then we can go down to our print profile section, and right now it's pre-selected at linear. Most of the time I use the Kodak 2383 or the Endura glossy paper. Let's try the 2383 or the good, and then let's try the Kodak Endura. I think I will stick with the Kodak Endura, but we still have to do some adjustment. I also like to play around with the color density, so maybe let's increase that first to boost some of the colors of the film. So around 20 should be okay. And then I also like to play around with the color head section. Here you can find your yellow, blue, magenta, green, and cyan red filter. And most of the time I only play around with the yellow blue filter because, like I said, I want my videos to be on the warmer side. So I will just play around with this, drag it to the right. We just have to enable it first, and then drag it toward the left to have a more warmer look. I think around 5 should be okay. Maybe we'll play around with the cyan and the red. Yeah, pull it up to 3.5. That looks good, in my opinion. Then we can also go to like the film developer if you wanna like boost the colors as well. But we just have to enable it. And then we're gonna go to the top 3 favorite features of mine in the Dehancer Pro, which is the film grain, halation, and bloom. So for the film grain, you can play around with different kinds of film grain from 8mm up to 65. But I find that the 8mm is quite noisy and very textured. But you can always adjust the amount. But for me, I prefer using the 35mm ISO 250 because it's kind of like a sweet spot for me. Because you know that there is texture, but at the same time, it's not too distracting for my eyes. So I'm just gonna leave that at 35. And then the second favorite feature of mine is the halation. The halation is like that red hue on the highlighted areas on your film. It kind of gives off that outline on your highlighted areas, like at the top of the head of this dog. I think 70 looks okay for this clip because it's very subtle. Like for the halation, I don't like overdoing it. I just like it to be there, but not like too in your face, if you know what I mean. So I'm just gonna leave that at 70. Then my third favorite feature for the Dehancer plugin would be the bloom section. You have the option to kind of like add this dreamy effect that everyone likes to have. I mean, I'm already using a Black Pro Mist filter on my camera lenses, so most of the time I don't use the bloom option on the plugin, but it's very situational. Like if you think it looks good on certain clips, then you're more than welcome to use that. But for this video that I'm color grading, I don't think I need to add more bloom to this because I'm already happy with the current look. And then this is where it gets interesting. The film damage section, if you want to add that, you would see like those tiny scratches that you've always seen on like old vintage films. And if we enable that, we're gonna get some of those scratches depending on the profile that you want to use, right? If you want to use the 8, the Super 8 or the Super 16, you're more than welcome to do so. It's more noticeable for me, and I kind of not like it because I just want like a subtle hint that there is like film damage in my video. So if I wanted to add more characteristics in my videos, I would just use the 35 because you would notice that it's somewhat there but not too much. So I just want the film damage to be at Super 35. I normally don't touch the gate weave and the overscan section of the film on the Dehancer Pro because overscan is more of like just giving you the old film-like borders. Like for example, if you're using the Super 35 1.37, then you're gonna get this kind of border, but that's not the look that I'm after, so I'm just gonna untick that and leave it as is. And there's also like a vignette section which I never use because like I said, I'm okay with my current framing for my clip. And I think that's about it. If I'm gonna adjust something, maybe just the black point on the expand button, maybe brighten it up more just a tad bit, and I think I'm pretty happy with the colors for this clip. If you want to save that, we're just like right click and then grab the still, and then we're gonna have a power grade that you can use on a different clip. So let's try our power grade on the second clip with the cherry blossom. Just right click and then apply grade, and right from the get-go I'm already liking the colors of this. If anything, I'll just do a minor tweak, and yeah, it's that easy to use the Dehancer plugin. With just a few clicks, you're gonna be able to attain a filmic look already. So that is how I color grade my videos using the Dehancer Pro, and I hope you guys learned maybe a thing or two. I'm not really used to like making tutorials like this, but I try my best to kind of like just simplify things and make it straightforward as possible and give my honest feedback as someone who is also new to the whole video editing and color grading process. I'm also still learning, and with the Dehancer plugin, it was, for me, it was beginner friendly. It was easy for me to understand how the slider or the section works, and probably my favorite feature from the Dehancer plugin, the halation, the bloom, and the film grain effect, and as well as the film damage, because it really brings out a lot of characteristics in my videos now, and it gives it more of a texture and that vintage film look that I'm always after. And I'm very satisfied with the Dehancer plugin, and I can see that I will be incorporating more of this plugin in a lot of my workflow and videos in the future. So I highly recommend it. And also Dehancer has a mobile app that you can just like use and edit on the go wherever you are. So if you're interested in getting Dehancer for yourself and trying it out for yourself, I have a code that you can use, so you can get like a 10% discount off, and it's gonna be 1 out of 10. I'm gonna link it down below in the description box, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching, and as always, love you vlog.